This is Kathy Beal of EmpowermentUnlimited.net, and I am going to elaborate on an analysis I posted in the Facebook group, the Astro Insight Lounge, last night about the FBI executing a search warrant on Mar-a-Lago on August 8th. Interestingly, the anniversary of Richard Nixon's resignation from the office of the presidency. Lots going on in this situation astrologically, and I think you will not be surprised. The information is the announcement came out around 7 o'clock that the search had been underway. Indications are that it actually started around 9 in the morning, and that's the time for which I have run this chart. And it went on for a long time. Now, just some background. To get a search warrant, evidence has to be presented to a judge with really great specificity. You basically have to say, here's where it is, here's what it is, and the judge has to decide that there's probable cause that this information is somehow connected with a crime, and then he or she signs off on the warrant. In this situation, I would imagine that the approvals went way high up in the hierarchy. So this is not some willy-nilly thing. It was done under a warrant. There is a piece of paper somewhere that says what this is about. Whether that gets revealed and when it gets revealed, I don't know, but tons going on here. In the morning, you'll notice that the ascendant was Virgo, which does have to do with communication. And the ruler of the chart, Mercury, the planet that deals with communication, is in the 12th house of things that are hidden. And it is in an inconjunct with Jupiter in Aries in the 7th house of one-on-one partnerships, and so allies and open enemies. Jupiter in Aries suggests that there may be some military component to this. Jupiter in the aspect to Mercury suggests that there was an awful lot of information and documents, and Mercury in Virgo with all that does speak to the detail that was in it. And just by way of background, NBC News has reported that this search warrant does have something to do with classified information. That particular aspect that I've just described could speak to that. That was taken out of the White House and sent down to Mar-a-Lago. So other big things going on here. This happened as the Venus-Pluto opposition was moving into exactitude, with Venus in the 11th house of organizations and associations, and Pluto in the 5th house of risk-taking, and also children. This Venus placement is one of several indicators to me that not only does this have something to do with money, but a woman is somehow involved in this. And whether that is a daughter, given that this is the 5th-11 axis, or if this is an indicator that there's some information there that has to do with Ghislaine Maxwell, we'll have to wait and see. Also, this aspect is, Venus is in exactly this spot in Trump's natal chart, which we will see in the next slide. The other aspect of this that I want to bring out is that Venus is in a trine to Neptune in the 7th house of one-on-one partners and open enemies. A trine. So that's an easy flow. Maybe there's something here, there is something here about hidden information, and again, stuff having to do with money and with relationships and things that are not as they have been presented to the public. with Neptune there. The moon is in the fourth house, moon in Sagittarius in the fourth house, which is appropriate for this occurring in a residence. This is Trump's home, even though it's a private club, and it is squaring Neptune in the seventh house of allies and enemies. So this does speak to the home aspect of this event. The moon in Sagittarius suggests there is a foreign element to this, foreign influences in the home, and that square to Neptune may involve cloaked partnerships, shell games, gaslighting about situations. Interestingly, this raid occurred while Trump's campaign manager, Paul Manafort, who got a pardon at the end of the last administration, Paul Manafort actually made a public statement the day that this was occurring that he had shared campaign data, private campaign data, with Russian intelligence as part of the 2016 campaign. So is there something about Russia here? Also keep in mind that earlier this summer, the Attorney General Merrick Garland went to Ukraine. What was that about? Could there possibly be something going on here that involves that? The moon is in a tight inconjunct with Venus. So more stuff about money, international overtones, relationships with others. I don't know, does this pull in the Trump organization, since that's the 11th house of group associations? At any rate, there's a big pileup here that seems to indicate that this, whatever was seized, has something to do with previously secret financial dealings with international overtones. And there's also an indication that there's a tremendous amount of information that came out, which is again part of the Jupiter connection here. Pluto in the fifth house of risk taking is in a very uncomfortable aspect with the moon. Now, the moon's degree could be off a bit in either direction, but regardless, that puts it in a semi-sextile with Pluto. There's a lot of nagging stuff here that cannot be shoved under the carpet. And notice the pileup in the ninth house of legalities and foreign affairs. And one thing that's important to know, there is a federal statute, 18 U.S. Code Section 2071, about the concealment, removal, or mutilation of federal documents. Penalties are fine, imprisonment, forfeiting an office if you're in office when you're caught doing it, and being disqualified for life from holding federal office. That would go along with this nice little cluster up here in the ninth house: legalities, legal system, foreign affairs, also the courts. Notice that Uranus is still close to the North Node, and that on August 1st, Uranus, the North Node, and Mars were all clustered in a triple conjunction. That's going to continue to get hammered. Uranus is going to sit at this location until October. And on August 24th, it will go retrograde on this degree. So this search has a very long playing out in terms of the impact that it is going to have. Now let's see how it affects, the person who was, who this was executed on. Okay, so Venus, Pluto, opposition, goes across the same two houses. in Trump's chart as it did in the time of the start of the raid, if in fact it did happen around 9 o'clock. And Venus is on his Venus. That Saturn and Venus pair up there in the 11th house of organizations, I've always seen as a signature for the Trump organization, for family business, for money tied up with others, doing business with others. And again, this suggests there's a first off, there's a big financial streak to whatever this is about. And I will not be surprised if there is a role of a woman, and probably more than just the Assistant Attorney General Lisa Monaco, who may have had something to do with this. We don't know. The moon is doing some interesting things. It's exactly trining his Mars. And of course, he's gone off on the warpath, and many people are screaming for war, actually, as a result of this. Another way of looking at this is that his hidden actions are now coming to light. Things that he did as president, Leo, actions being the Mars, are now being spotlit by this particular event. And notice that the square from the moon to Neptune in this configuration has the moon still in the 4th house of home, but Neptune falls in his 8th house of other people's money, joint resources. So this suggests that there's a whole lot more going on here than somebody simply walking off with a bunch of classified documents. This would indicate that something was being done with them, or that there was an intent to do something with them, probably hidden monetary gain. Now, the nice little pileup of Taurus in the 9th house falls in his 9th house as well. And the Mars in Taurus is coming up on his midheaven, which is the doorway to his public life. And this is the actual tactical, practical, concrete action being taken to move this investigation along. But it also could indicate a man having prompted this. And I don't just mean the AG or the director of the FBI. For that level of specificity that is required for a search warrant, it is highly probable that someone with knowledge, someone in Trump's circle, said where all these things were that led to the search warrant. Some more things to look at. Venus is semi-sextile his Mars, nice and tightly. That's not comfortable. That is, again, nudging, having to step up and face something that is simply not going to go away. That kind of aspect also shows up between the North Node and his Uranus. So radical or disruptive stuff that he did, the ramifications for it, the legal connections to it, are not going to go away. They are something that must be dealt with. The moon is roughly conjunct his moon and pulling across his moon and nodal axis. So this is a very personal event for him. Saturn, the planet of adulting, the party pooper of the zodiac, the government, the guy that says you must answer for what you do, is exactly trine his sun. So this was unimpeded. This one, for a change, was unimpeded, and it just flew out. Jupiter in the sky, Jupiter in his 8th house of other people's money, exactly square Trump's Mercury in the 11th house of group associations. This is pushing out information. It is highlighting the classified. Eighth house is one of the two houses that does indicate secrets. So it's pushing out classified information, the fate of what happened to it. This shows the boxes of documents aspect of it. Some more here. Neptune, planet of illusion, planet of deceit, is exactly trine his Venus. Neptune in the house of other people's money, exactly trine Venus, his money planet, in his house of organizations. So we have multiple indications that whatever the documents were, whatever the evidence was that was seized, it involves money, it involves foreign things, it involves classified information, perhaps military secrets. One other thing I wanted to, that I forgot to mention, this Mercury falling in the 12th house of in the seizure chart would indicate things that have been done in a hidden way. The 12th house can be a house of criminality. So things that went against what the regulations were, what the laws were for what should be happening. Note also that the sun at the time of this raid is squaring that the north node in Taurus in the 9th house of legalities. So behind the scenes, the government going after information that does have to do, this again underscores the financial issue, the financial overtones, and this being a national, whatever's going on is a national security issue, and it's going to be playing out and out and out. The trine from Saturn to his sun indicates it's very public, and good luck getting away from this one. That's almost like the trap has now closed in on him. And the various uncomfortable semi-sextiles say this is not going away. It will be eating at the situation and demanding, no matter what he does, stuff is going to come up. This is the gift that keeps on giving. Tons more coming from this. I will leave it to you to watch what happens when that Mars actually moves into his 10th house and then heads for his Uranus, his North Node, and then his Sun. Mars is going to be in Gemini through the rest of the year, and it goes retrograde in the fall, so it could take a while, but the promise of this particular raid will play out, and the timing for when it happens is when Mars starts to move across his Gemini planets. If you've enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, share. I have lots more information on this channel. Come over to Facebook and join the Astro Insight Lounge for real-time discussion of events as they break. And we'll just see what happens with this.